So what happens when you smash together ancient spirituality and, bleeding edge astrophysics? Well, that's what we're going to get into today. We're exploring this absolutely fascinating chronicle about a group of engineer monks. And these aren't just any monks. They follow Vajrayana Buddhism, a path known for its incredibly direct, powerful methods. And they use these methods to build a starship. Yeah, a starship. Let's dive into how on earth they pulled it off.
Right from the jump, you can tell the stakes are just cosmic. This isn't some simple mission to explore the stars. Nope, this is a mission of liberation. The whole point is to build this great vehicle, which they call the resonance arc, to save every living thing from a universe that is fundamentally, by its very nature, falling apart.
Okay, so let's look at this the way the monks did, as a massive engineering project. And what's the first step in any project? You have to define the problem you're trying to solve. And for them, that problem was, well, it was reality itself.
They had a name for their enemy, the churn. It's this universal law that everything, and I mean everything, from a mountain to a star, is constantly decaying. It's kind of like cosmic entropy, but with this deep spiritual weight to it. The resonance arc had to be the ultimate escape vehicle from this universal grinding down process. But hang on, how do you build something that lasts forever in a universe that's designed to decay? The monks found their answer in a concept called sunyata, or emptiness. Now, this isn't nothing in the way we think of it. To them, emptiness is this incredible sea of raw potential. It's the untapped energy source that the entire cosmos springs from.
So, that leads them to their very first massive engineering challenge. How do you build an engine that runs on the void? I mean, how do you actually tap into that sea of potential and get real, usable power out of it?
Their first design was just mind-blowing. They called it the dynamic Casimir lattice. Picture this. Huge groups of monks using their combined focus to spin these gigantic, mirrored prayer wheels at nearly the speed of light. Their math showed this would literally yank photons, particles of light, right out of the vacuum of empty space. They were creating energy from nothing.
But they slammed right into a huge wall, a fundamental law of physics. At those insane relativistic speeds, the friction and heat would be so intense, it would melt any material known to exist. The prayer wheels, whether they were made of steel or diamond, would just poof, vaporize. The whole project just ground to a halt.
And this is where they had their first game-changing breakthrough. The solution wasn't finding a stronger material. It was ditching physical material entirely. They realized the mirrors didn't have to be things. They could be fields of pure, concentrated intent, magnetic boundaries held perfectly in place by the monks' shared meditative focus. They just merged consciousness and physics to build an engine with literally zero moving parts.
All right, so they have a power source. Check. Now they need to tackle the next big problem, the ship's hull. How do you build a physical ship without mining a single rock? Well, you don't. You create the matter yourself. Their method was called the Schwinger Forge. It's described as a kind of wrathful tantric visualization. Basically, the monks would focus their minds to create this tiny, localized electric field so incredibly powerful that it would literally rip the fabric of the vacuum, pulling pairs of matter and antimatter particles into existence. They were thinking the hull of their starship into being. At first, though, it was a total disaster. The brand new matter and antimatter would instantly collide and just annihilate each other in these blinding flashes of deadly gamma radiation. The whole process was way too violent, way too chaotic to control. But their solution was, well, it was brilliant. A real testament to their shared logic. They came up with a containment system, a magnetic vessel they called a gaw, or a reliquary. This magnetic field would pop into existence right at the moment of creation, instantly separating the matter from the antimatter and safely siphoning the good stuff away. Just like that, they turned a chaotic explosion into a stable, reliable manufacturing process.
So the resonance arc now has power, and it has a physical form. But a starship isn't much use if it can't go anywhere, right? Their next challenge was to figure out how to cross the unimaginable emptiness between stars.
And the tool they designed for this was called the gravitational scalpel. At its very core was a physical object, a three-sided ritual dagger, a furba. This dagger acted as an anchor, a focusing point for their collective will, allowing them to literally slice and fold the fabric of space-time itself.
So, those three sides of the dagger, they corresponded to the three parts of their faster-than-light drive. The first side, Dharmakaya, was for creating an Einstein-Rosen bridge, basically a wormhole connecting where they are to where they want to be. The second, Sambhogakaya, generated an Alcubierre warp bubble so they could ride the wave of space-time through that bridge. And the third, Nirmanakaya, was a time dilation compensator, super important to make sure they didn't get back home centuries after they left because of relativity. I mean, what an incredibly elegant and sophisticated design.
And that brings us to the final, and honestly the most profound challenge they faced. The Ark is built, the drive is designed, the engine is humming. But when they go to turn it all on, they hit a problem that their physics, our physics, just can't solve.
So they open the wormhole. This shimmering doorway to the stars appears in front of them. But it's unstable. Its very existence is a paradox, and the universe, driven by that relentless churn, is trying to fix it. The wormhole is collapsing under the crushing weight of its own impossible gravity. So their first thought is to solve it with physics. They use their Casimir engine again. But this time, instead of visualizing plates of pure intent, they visualize plates of pure bodhisatya, which is this ideal of unconditional, boundless compassion. The idea was to generate a kind of negative energy pressure pushing outwards to hold the throat of the wormhole open. It doesn't work. I mean, it helps, but the wormhole is still shuddering, still threatening to collapse. See, the engine is trying to use a physical force to solve a logical problem, a paradox. So the real question becomes, how do you stabilize something that by its very nature shouldn't even exist?
Their final solution wasn't a new machine or a new engine. It was an entirely different system of logic, the kataskoti. See, instead of thinking in binary, that the path is either real or it's not, it exists or it doesn't, they embraced a fourfold logic.
They held all four of these contradictory states in their minds at the exact same time, in perfect balance. The path to the stars is. The path is not. The path is both existing and not existing. And the path is neither. And by fully embracing this paradox, instead of fighting it, they actually paused the quantum process that was making it collapse. The wormhole just stabilized. It became this serene, perfect gateway. They didn't overpower the paradox, they transcended it.
And the chronicle doesn't end with the Ark launching into space, it ends with an invitation. It asks if you, the person reading it, would like to step into the role of the master to refine the final calculations before the first crossing. It just leaves us there, wondering not just where the Ark was going, but what kind of mind it takes to even begin a journey like that.